vamos a pedir que suba al escenario el siguiente ponente. Es Mr. Villano Qiriazi. Es el director del Departamento de Educación del Consejo de Europa. Desde que inició su trayectoria profesional en el Consejo de Europa en 1996, ha acumulado una amplia experiencia en la formulación y progreso de políticas e instrumentos del Consejo de Europa. Ha ocupado varios cargos en los sectores de educación formal y educación superior. Es miembro del Comité Directivo de la UNESCO para el seguimiento de la Agenda ODS 4 y sus contribuciones del campo de la educación están marcadas por su profundo también conocimiento de las complejidades de las políticas educativas y su compromiso de fomentar entornos educativos democráticos, transparentes y alineados con los valores de los derechos humanos, muy importante. El título de su ponencia es Coping with Anticipation Digital Evolution, la transformación digital, respaldada en gran medida por la inteligencia artificial. Ha cambiado drásticamente el panorama educativo en los últimos años, como hemos estado escuchando. La inteligencia artificial, la IA, ofrece muchas oportunidades, pero también conlleva amenazas, ¿no? Amenazas, lo que hace necesario tener en cuenta los principios de los derechos humanos en el diseño de la aplicación. A continuación, a través de su ponencia, reflexionaremos sobre todos estos retos y oportunidades, así como sobre las medidas de regulación muy importantes que el Consejo de Europa está investigando para garantizar lo mejor en el interés de los estudiantes, particularmente los menores. Un fuerte aplauso para él, por favor. Gracias.
Thank you very much for this introduction, and thank you to authorities here in Barcelona and to the Ministry of Education as well and EduCluster for the invitation and having the Council of Europe here today. So you heard a lot of insights from university researchers and from Barbara. She's part of our group of experts. But from, you will be also listening a little bit about European bureaucracy. And so that correspond a little bit to what we say, if United States will innovate, then Europe will regulate. In a way. So we have been doing a little bit also. This is part of the mission of the organization. But I can say you that also regulation is important. Last night or last evening, the European Court of Human Rights took a historical decision in Strasbourg. It condemned Switzerland about not taking enough action to protect the citizens against climate change. So it's going to change now the policy of all our member states with regard to climate change. So in a way, regulation also is needed and helps directly the well-being of all the citizens in our member states and human rights, democracy, and rule of law. So in my presentation for 30 minutes, I would like to give you a short overview of what we do in the Council of Europe and generally when it comes to technology and artificial intelligence lately. And then move to what we do specifically in the education sector. So Barbara mentioned some of the elements that we are trying to develop, and then what kind of strategy we are engaging in for the future, let's say, 8 years, in order to contribute to the work of what technology and innovation is doing, but also what universities are doing, what public authorities in member states are doing with regard to technology. So what the Council of Europe? The Council of Europe is an organization that is based in Strasbourg, and we have 46 member states, and we are actively committed to 3 fundamental values that are human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. And we are very active for many years now, for 75 years, in protecting and actively guiding our member states with regard to the addressing the challenges that affect all European societies. And nowadays, these challenges are even greater. So when it comes to the digital, let's say, panorama, or what we have done with regard to the digital evolution and the impact on member states, there are several key, let's say, regulatory frameworks that we have developed over the years. And then the most important regulatory frameworks are related to cybercrime, like Budapest Convention, which is an international agreement open to member states and beyond Europe as well. But then is also the Convention 108 regarding independence of supervisory authorities and transporters' data flows. And then we have developed guidelines and other instruments related to artificial intelligence in the last 4 to 5 years. We have also started since 2019 working on a broad, let's say, new regulatory framework that we call a Framework Convention for AI systems in relation to the protection of human rights, rule of law, and democracy. And a specific committee has been established in order to finalize such an instrument. So we are right now in the process of finalizing the draft framework convention on artificial intelligence that in a way will complement the new AI Act that was approved or adopted by the European Parliament in 2023. Our convention will be open for signature in May this year, when we change the presidencies from Liechtenstein to Lithuania. So what will be at the core of this new regulatory framework that in a way will impact all the national legislation when it comes to development, but also use, introduction, and deployment of artificial intelligence systems in several public sectors, including education. So first of all, through this framework convention, for the first time, we'll have a common definition of what AI systems means, and then we have taken the same definition that is provided by OECD. So all European countries and all providers and producers, etc., will refer to a single definition across Europe. So this is one key element of this new framework convention. Then there are 2 general obligations that will be directed or addressed to member states, so to national authorities and not to providers. And those 2 general obligations are related to the activities within the entire life cycle of artificial intelligence systems. And then in the framework, we are also promoting, in a way, 8 other principles that are related to human dignity, transparency, accountability, equality and non-discrimination, privacy, reliability, and safety innovation. So these are the key elements of this framework convention. And there is also a specific article, Article 20, that is related directly to the education and the AI literacy, because it's about preparation of digital literacy and skills that will be obligatory for all education systems in our member states. So what is the difference between this new framework convention and the EU AI Act that was approved last year? So our instrument is an international convention, international treaty, and it will be a global one. The EU Act is EU legislation and will be valid only for the EU member states, so the 27. Of course, EU legislation that is addressed or directed to providers, deployers, etc., will have also indirect impact to other, let's say, deployers or providers outside of the EU borders. And then in the scope, there is also a difference. So the new framework convention will be for the entire life cycle of AI systems, and the EU Act is for AI systems that will be used in the EU, that be safe, transparent, trustable, non-discriminatory, and environmentally friendly as well. And they are two slightly different approaches. The new international convention is entirely a human rights-based approach, which means that independently of the level of risk of the AI-based systems, either high risk or middle or low risk, all AI systems should be assessed, evaluated, in the case they interfere or have the potential to interfere with human rights, with rule of law, and with democracy. So the EU Act is mainly a risk-based instrument, but also protects some of the fundamental values. The Convention of the Council of Europe will be a human rights-based document. And of course, our instrument will be directed to the public authorities, and then the other one is mainly for providers, and the public authorities will have the duty to monitor and control. So in the education sector, Barbara mentioned already this report that we have produced together with a group of experts in 2022. So the report examines the different connections between AI and education that Barbara mentioned, but also presents some challenges from the point of view of human rights, rule of law, and democracy, and look critically to some of these issues. At the same time, our group of experts also recognizes the opportunities about the personalized learning, the efficiency in the administrative processes in schools, the enhancement of accessibility to learning and to education, the support for educators in preparing lessons plans, etc., but focus very much on the risks and the challenges that introduction of artificial intelligence is generating for the education sector, with specific elements related to data privacy, reduced human interaction, and also the question of the pedagogical values of AI-based or driven tools that we are introducing in our education systems. So Barbara already underlined some of these elements and the specific risks that they pose for students and children in the classroom. And then the major elements are related to student agency, to the disempowerment of teachers or changing the role of teachers, and also to automation of poor pedagogic practices, and the question of little evidence in the classroom through long-standing research is also very problematic. And then, of course, when it comes to children and students, we don't know yet what kind of repercussions or consequences the use of AI tools will have in the development of cognitive capacities for all the children in the classrooms. So we have also considered the challenges and the risk from the three, let's say, lenses that we use all the time in the Council of Europe, that are human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. And when it comes to human rights, the major elements or challenges that we face are related to the dignity of the children, to their autonomy, to their right to be heard and not suffer from discrimination, to privacy issues and protection from economic exploitation, and also capacities or possibilities for remedies and redress. For example, in the context of AI in education, from the perspective of human rights, the child rights to dignity implies that the teaching, assessment, and accreditation of learning and all related pedagogical and other educational decisions should not be delegated to an AI system unless it can be shown that doing so does not risk violating the dignity of the participating children. Or when it comes to AI and democracy, democratic education presupposes open access and equity, meaning that everyone has access to the same quality of learning materials, conditions, and opportunities. And then when it comes to rule of law, so everything should be done in compatibility with and compliance with national legislation and regulations. But again, when it comes to human rights, democracy, and rule of law, in addition to these elements, there are also other elements that are problematic. For example, the first one is the right to education. And when we think about the future or this spectacular future, we can say what kind of quality education our children will have in the future. Is entirely AI education system without intervention of humans will be a reality in the years to come. For China, I'm sure it will be, but in Europe, is this that we are going to dream about our children, so an education without human interaction? So this is, let's say, one element. The other one is very much related to freedom of thought, conscience, and expression when we interact with technology, etc. To what extent we develop and we preserve this fundamental right, which is the basis of liberal democracies, at least in Western Europe. And then when it comes to democracy, the question of critical thinking and civic engagement is another crucial element, a key competence in order to form the future citizens, but also academic freedom, which is not only a European value or an academic value, but also a fundamental right, not only per se, but also in order to have a full enjoyment of the right to education, we need also to be free to learn, and we need also in our education systems teachers to be free to teach, and we should also be free to carry out research and disseminate and publicize such research. So this is another element, but also other elements related to accountability mechanisms or legal compliance are also quite important. Now, Barbara also mentioned that the education sector should be considered when it comes to regulation as a special case. The main element or the main, let's say, aspect of this special case is because children and education, children have their physical, emotional, cognitive and spiritual immaturity, so it should be, they should be also considered as special, and also education should be considered as a public sector that should encompass all these, let's say, subtleties of their participants, and children and students. Through the preliminary work that we have been doing, so one of the key conclusions is that there is a need to regulate, I mean binding or not binding, or creating new obligations for member states. Then we immediately enter in this debate between regulation, innovation. And then if we regulate too early, then we can, in a way, let's say, pose some problems to the innovative sectors and to the introduction of technology. But on the other side, if we don't regulate or don't give guidance, then other risks will be increased, and then we don't know yet what kind of future education we'll have for our children. But in any case, what's happening in member states, how is the situation about regulation, guidance, etc., is in member states. Barbara mentioned that we carried out in 2022 a specific survey to measure the readiness of authorities, public authorities in member states with regard to the introduction of artificial intelligence. OECD did the same. OECD did this with 18, let's say, countries. We got answers from 25 countries out of 46 member states, and when we compare OECD review and the Council of Europe's review, the situation is almost the same. Member states have used regulation very little or none at all. Only France, and then from the side of OECD, Korea and Japan are trying to put some regulation in place, but the majority of the introduction of AI and technology in education systems and schools is based on specific guidance or left to the school autonomy and to the local authorities. So there is not so much happening in terms of regulation in member states. One characteristic is that when it comes to the budget that public authorities devote to technology and introduction of technology and boosting the introduction of technology and artificial intelligence in education system, I mean, it's very difficult to find specific budgets and specific funds for this function in the majority of those that answered our survey. So the major takeaways of this survey, Barbara mentioned some of them, and then I would highlight the collaborative approach and the active involvement of the key stakeholders, and most probably will be based on this element to build also new strategies for the development of any types of regulation, guidance, and other policy documents with our member states. Now, what type of strategy we have been following in the education sector of the Council of Europe? Last September, ministers of education approved a new strategy for the education sector that is based on 3 pillars. One is related to the renewal of civic mission. Another one is related to the social responsibility and enhancement of responsiveness of education system to the diversity of learners, but also to the diversity of local context. And then we are developing at the center, we are putting the learner with mainly 4 dimensions: the citizen learner, the digital learner, the intercultural global learning, but also we will pay specific attention to well-being. And then you are also familiar with other, let's say, guidelines and recommendations that have been developed by the European Commission when it comes to the well-being dimension of all the learners in the digital environment and in the classrooms. So learners first is our, let's say, main concern, and then the 4 dimensions of this learner in the strategy are central. Then when it comes to the third pillar is dedicated fully to the digital transformation of education, and the major approach or the specificity or added value that the Council will provide to Member States is the human rights-based approach that we take with regard to the digital transformation, with 3 major elements: digital literacy and access for all, and then responsible innovation and ethics in education technology, and also partnerships and developments of common standards across all European countries. So we have started with a policy recommendation on developing digital citizenship education some years ago, and in the last conference, as I said, we received a mandate from ministers to develop legal instrument for the regulation of artificial intelligence, but also a second instrument with regard to teaching and learning about and with AI in education systems in Europe. In general terms, there is a call for more evidence that was also highlighted by Barbara, but also more appropriate regulation before AI tools are introduced into a classroom, and then a specific aspect or dimension where we need more attention is that when it comes to the introduction or integration in curricula, both aspects, the human aspect and the technical dimension of AI, should be equally represented, and a multidisciplinary approach is needed. And of course, for an organization like the Council, the fundamental values are top priorities. So in the near future, Barbara mentioned 3 major lines of actions that we are right now working, and by the end of this year, we most probably have them in a first, let's say, form ready. Our idea is to create a platform or a European, let's say, committee that will have a multilateral dimension to integrate both public authorities, a representative from EdTech companies, but also civil society and academia together. And then this new platform or committee would have 3 major objectives. A first one will be related to what type of governance for AI and technology we need in Europe for all our member states. We need Europe for our education systems. So it will be related to frameworks, policies, technologies, code of practice, criteria, procedures, quality concerns, assessment, etc. And then a second element is related to what kind of competencies we need about technology across all our member states, and not only competencies for learners, but also for teachers and also for adults, that we don't talk so much when it comes to the introduction or the challenges of AI, but the AI literacy for adults will be a big challenge for the coming years. And of course, the third element or dimension of this platform will be related to the future of education, either a spectacular one or a scary one. We need to see what kind of future we need to develop for European countries, and also to develop common references when it comes to the assessment with regard to the pedagogical value of technology and other instruments that we introduce in education system. So this is in a kind of nutshell what we have done until now and what we are going to promote and do with member states for the next coming years. There are, of course, other elements related to specific subjects like language and AI or history and digital misinformation, disinformation, etc., but also questions related to access, to assessment, to admissions at universities, to the discriminatory, let's say, algorithmic use for defining learning pathways or admission to higher education system, but also when it comes to use of blockchain for portability of qualifications and diplomas across European countries. So all these elements are also in the focus in the work of the Council of Europe. So I would like to thank you for your attention, and again, thank you for inviting the Council of Europe to give this short overview of what's happening in the European context. Thank you very much.